Welcome to the 2025 Dublin City School Board of Education Candidate Forum. I'm Grace Lang, a longtime Dublin resident and a proud member of the Asian American Coalition of Ohio's executive leadership team. I'm honored to moderate tonight's forum with support from AACO board member Hong Chiu. On behalf of AACO, thank you for joining us tonight for the important civic event. Your presence reflects a shared commitment to our schools, our children, and the future of our community. AACO is a nonpartisan, nonprofit grassroots organization dedicated to educate, engage, and empower Asian communities in Ohio to participate fully in American civic life. Through programs in civic engagement, youth leadership development, and community service, we aim to ensure our voices are heard and our communities are represented. As part of our civic engagement program, AACO has proudly hosted candidate forums since its founding. Previous Dublin School Board forums have been well attended and widely viewed. One forum alone reached near 3,000 viewers. We are proud to continue the tradition tonight. Education is a top priority for the Asian community. We are thrilled to welcome all the candidates running for the Dublin City School Board of Education this year, and we thank them sincerely for joining us tonight to engage directly with voters. So before we begin, let me quickly walk you through how tonight's forum will run. Each candidate will answer the same 4 questions. The order of responses will rotate based on the alphabetical order of the candidates' first names. Hong will post each question and the speaking order as we go. Each candidate will have up to 3 minutes per question. A timer will be visible on my screen. When 45 seconds remain, the timer will turn red. When time is up, a soft music cue will play. This forum is scheduled for an hour and 15 minutes. We should have some time for Q&A, so I encourage you, all the attendees, to submit questions in the Q&A box, and Hong will pick the most interested question to give the candidates opportunity to answer live. And if your questions are not picked during the forum, rest assured that we are going to collect all the submissions and share them with the candidates afterward. Now, let's get started with the first question to get to know each candidate a little better. Please introduce yourself and share what has inspired you to run for the Board of Education. The order of answering will be Elizabeth, Kristy, Tara, and Tiffany. Now let's begin with Elizabeth.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hosting this on a Friday night, and we're very pleased to be here. My name is Elizabeth McClain. I am a 30-year resident of Dublin, Ohio. I actually was born in Columbus. All 3 of our sons were raised here and attended all the Dublin schools and graduated all from Jerome and Tolles. What inspired me to run is the fact that all of my children have such varied careers. My oldest one is a wine expert. My middle child is going to graduate from Ohio University with his degree in global politics, and he speaks Swahili, and he's won a Fulbright to go study in Kenya. And my 3rd child graduated from Tolles in firefighting EMT, and he feels strongly to give back to the community as a firefighter. So the Dublin school system afforded my children all of this opportunity in which to explore all the things that they are really blessed and good at. And once my youngest was out, he graduated in May, I thought this was an opportunity for me to take my project management skills and come do something with possibly the city council or the school board. And I talked to both city council members and school board members and opted to run for school board. Hong and I have been on the Community Services Advisory Commission, so I had some experience with local politics or local government in the city of Dublin.
So, Elizabeth, are you done with like what inspired you to run for the board?
Well, my boys inspired me to run for the board. I just feel really strongly that the education they've received in Dublin is top notch. It's amazing, regardless of the schools they were in, or and they were redistricted in their young lives. They got to meet new friends, new teachers, new experiences. But all in all, the overall tenor of Dublin schools is exemplary, and we are so blessed. We actually moved from Hilliard to Dublin so that our boys could attend schools here, and it has been such a worthwhile endeavor for them. And they have friends that they've had since they were little, and they have friends that they've met later on that have all attended Dublin schools, and so it's just it's a blessing to be part of this community.
Got it. Thank you. So next, Kristy.
Great, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for hosting this forum, and to everyone who's joining in to listen or watching the recording. My name is Kristy Venne, and I'm running for Dublin City Schools Board of Education because I believe that the future of our community depends on how well we prepare young people now, today. I've dedicated my entire career to that mission, to education. Out of 20 plus years, I've been a teacher for 10 years. I was a building principal and a district level administrator. Most recently, I served in Dublin City Schools for 9 years. I was the founding director of Emerald Campus, got to design and open that facility after serving at Jerome High School as an assistant principal. My passion has been innovative programming, pathways, accelerated coursework such as the IB program, and being a champion for experiential real-world learning for our students. I also helped shape the district's strategic plan. I co-authored and helped lead that process 2 years ago. And I also was the co-chair of the last levy campaign to help pass that levy and secure funding for our schools. Today, I am an education and workforce consultant. I work with schools and industries across the state to align educational needs with our quickly changing economy. That experience, plus having my own family here in Dublin, I have 2 high school students right now, my son and daughter, gives me a unique perspective on how we can bridge from classrooms to careers and include our community in that journey to make sure that every student thrives. My campaign team is unique. It's comprised of student leaders. There are 9 Dublin students who serve in a variety of positions, including campaign manager and social media and website and print and volunteer coordinator. So I'm making sure that they're included because this is their district. And my campaign's also nonpartisan. So that was an important part of designing how I wanted to run to make sure I'm serving all families in the community and everyone feels comfortable sharing perspectives and talking with me. When public education is facing challenges and opportunities right now in our state, I feel like our district needs an experienced leader, an educator who is a collaborator and innovator. And I'm excited for the opportunity to hopefully serve and bring that experience. I believe that student success is community success. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kristy. Now, Tara.
Great, thank you. My name is Tara Seward. I am running for Dublin Board of Education. First, thank you so much to AACO for hosting us. It's always great to have everybody in one place so you can get all of that information out. So I do have 3 minutes, so I would like to take a little bit of time. I actually could take the full amount of time talking about my experience in Dublin because I have been in Dublin for 41 years out of my 42 years. I grew up in Old Sawmill and now moved over to Muirfield. So I've been in Muirfield for 27 years. And my mom was actually Scioto PTO president back in the day. And so we really grew up around the schools in our neighborhood. We built, for people that have been here a really long time, Discovery Park. As a neighborhood, we really came together to rally around the schools. And so I've really grown up with a lot of my friends being a part of the schools. That's really what my village looked like. So I'd say now, my brother actually was part of redistricting, and I know that this will probably come up a little bit in the future. So he was actually part of that when Jerome was built. And even though we were in Muirfield, he actually did opt to stay at Scioto. And when Jerome was built, we did stay with our friends and our family there at Scioto. So we feel connect with the entire district. And a biggest testament to the district itself is that I chose to have my family here. So I have 4 kids that I have raised in Dublin, have gone through Penny, Grizel, and then also Jerome. So I have 2 left as a freshman and a sophomore at Jerome, and then I have one that's at Boston University as a senior, and then one also at UC. So we've really experienced a lot of the schools. I've had one that's been on a 504, one that's been on an IEP because he is dyslexic, and then one also that is in the gifted program. And then my other son was an athlete, and he really just went to school really to play sports. So that was a big learning experience for me. But overall, I think what got me to run was funding. That was a big piece. When I started to see the funding being shifted to our private schools, that was when I used my professional background, which is in finance, to then be able to say, hey, this is my passion that's in my professional career, and I'd like to bring that to the board. So at this time, I would really like that opportunity to be able to use some of my skills that I use in my everyday professional career to then bring that to the board as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Tara. Next, Tiffany.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to the AACO for this opportunity. I'm Tiffany deSilva. I am a current Dublin City Schools Board of Education member. I'm a long-term volunteer in the district. I've volunteered as PTO president at Davis Middle School. I was PTO president at Scioto High School. I've been a room parent 8 times at the elementary school level. I served as a board member for the Dublin Education Foundation for 3 years, and I've been on many district-wide committees. And I originally decided to run back in 2021 because I wanted to make sure that our students had the knowledge, skills, resources, learning opportunities to succeed inside and outside of the classroom, no matter which building they attend and no matter what their circumstances are. And being a social worker, I thought it would be an asset to the board to have a social work perspective. I understand policy and I understand the social issues that our students face, and I thought that that would be a nice perspective to have as a board member. And I still feel that way as well. Another reason that I've decided to run this go around is I think it is important to have experience on the board as we are facing different challenges and opportunities. And as I was trying to make this decision, I was doing research and I saw that school boards and districts that have a high turnover rate in school board members actually have a high turnover rate in teachers as well. And they have lower student achievement. And that's not something that I want for Dublin City Schools. So I decided to be that experience on the board. And some of my priorities in running, which they haven't changed, but they are still here and I feel like they are still important, is mental health. I think mental health is extremely important for our students. Our students can't learn if they are too anxious to come to school. I believe that resilience is important for our students, helping them through challenges and different changes. And I believe safety is important for everyone, and our teachers, our students can't learn if they don't feel safe. And I believe that dollars are important. It's important for school board members in our district to take care of the funds that we do have and use our resources in the most efficient and best manner. And I also believe fundamentally that the experience, the educational experience, is the most foundational. And that's me in a nutshell, and I will talk more later. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. So you heard the beautiful music. Yeah. So yeah, thanks to all of you for sharing your background and motivation. Collectively, you have a diverse expertise, and it's inspiring to hear what drives each of you to serve our schools and our community. Some of you, like Tiffany, already shared some of her priorities, but our next question will basically let you dive in to speak directly to the heart of your platforms. If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the school district? This time we'll start with Kristy.
Great, thank you. So first off, for priorities, my whole career has been about better preparing students for the future. And that's a moving target. It keeps changing. So the first thing that I still believe is important is keeping student outcomes at the center of all of our decision making and make it everyone's priority. So elevating student success means making sure that our programs continue to be top notch and prepare students in a competitive way for whatever their goals may be. And we know there are many pathways to success for young people. That's not just saying that four-year college pathway, although that is the most popular in our district. And we should definitely support our students to getting into the school they want for their goals, to accomplish their goals. But it also means helping them to find the right fit pathway to match their goals, their interests, their aptitudes, what the world needs and what they can be paid for. So definitely listening to our students, listening to our partners in workforce development. We have a business advisory council that helps shape that, but ensuring that every student finds support to that pathway that they need. So those high academic standards and support where needed. The future ready students is my first priority. Second, building trust through transparency. So bringing together our families and hearing the voices of everyone in our community, parents and non-parents. We have the majority of people that live in our district are actually not parents. Roughly 70% do not have students in the schools. I believe we need to strengthen relationships with our community and find ways to include parents and non-parents in what we do in our school district to continue having the support we need. And that happens through one-on-one conversations. It happens through a diverse approach through, whether it's mailers or events, partnering with the city and other community events. I really believe that we need to continue to build that trust as my number 2 priority. And finally, organizational wellness and alignment in our district is essential. What that means is we have a strategic plan, and aligning all of our resources and our people and our culture and everyone moving in the same direction is really important. And we have great momentum with that in the district, but that's something that we can continue to work on and listen to our teachers in all the buildings and our families and make sure that people feel welcome and they belong, and that the culture is where it needs to be in all of our buildings to support learning for our students. So future ready students, building trust through transparency, and organizational wellness are my top 3 priorities. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Kristy. Tara, you'll be next.
Great. So kind of building on what I had mentioned before, so funding is actually really what got me to feel like I needed to get into the role right now. For me, it all comes down to money. And can we actually fund our programs? It really all stems from that. How are we being fiscally responsible? Making sure that we do have sustainable funding. I believe right now we do not. Now, I think that it's twofold. So there's work to be done at the state level. And then there's also work that can be done on the budget. And I do believe how we look at it, since we do have a big budget, I mean, it's almost approximately 300 million, it is a little business. And so I think we need to treat it that way and make sure that we have people on the board that do have financial background. And right now we do not have that. So that is something that I want to bring to the board. And I think what is important is now that we're seeing our property taxes raise and that we have this reliance on our levies, that is not sustainable. We cannot continue down that road because we're seeing, to Kristy's point, my parents still live in the district and they're worried about staying in the district. So we want to make sure that our people that have already put a lot of money into the district are able to age in place, but then also our graduates, people that have been in the district, are able to come back and raise their families here, just like I did myself. So we want to make sure that that is something that they can do. Also community engagement, and that goes hand in hand with the funding in my mind, because we are going to have to be creative. And we have a lot of very smart people here in Dublin. So I think that we really need to tap on that expertise to see how we can be creative with some of that funding. But then also, as we're doing some of our big decision making, what we've seen in the district where we've had some issues with the levy and now with redistricting is being able to reach out to the community ahead of time and make sure that they feel a part of that decision making. So I do think we have some work to do there. And then also the last piece is equitable resources across all of our buildings. So what does that look like? For me, like I had mentioned, my son, who is dyslexic, I noticed that at some of the schools, people have resources that others do not. And that's just not how it should be. So really making sure that we are taking care of all of our schools and making sure that we're not putting too many needs in one building, because that makes it very hard for all of our kids to succeed.
Got it. Thank you, Tara. Tiffany?
Thank you. So being a social worker and realizing that our students and youth across the country really, but definitely here in Dublin, our students are experiencing a mental health crisis. That's one of the reasons that we have instituted cell phone policies. But back in 2021, mental health was one of my priorities then, and I wrote, I think it was the Women's League of the League of Women Voters. I actually wrote that I wanted to bring a robust mental health program to Dublin City schools and use ESSER funds to do it. And that is actually what we have done in Dublin City schools. We created an innovative program where we educated educators to become social workers who are now licensed. And for the first time ever, we have enough social workers to work in every building in Dublin City schools. And one of my priorities is to make sure that they are able to do the jobs now that they are here, that they are able to do the jobs that we train them to do and support our students in their mental health so that they can achieve at their highest potential. Then my second thing is, again, to be good stewards of the resources that we have in the district and ensuring that our students have an individualized educational experience that sets them up for success, no matter which building it is that they are in. And even if we are experiencing funding challenges, that we are able to preserve the services that we are used to and expect in Dublin City schools. And lastly, I think building community is key. I value strong, precise, extensive communication. And I think there are a lot of parents in the district who also value strong communication and community building. And I think we can stand here and we can talk about all the great things that we're going to do, but we cannot do them without the community. You just cannot. There's not one single thing that we can do in this district without engaging the community and using the resources, the knowledge, skills, and expertise that's built into our community. So that's my priorities. Or some of them. There's not all of them.
Yes, we only give you 3.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. Next, Elizabeth.
Thank you. My 3 objectives, if elected to the board, definitely fiscal responsibility and working to collaborate with other areas outside of just the academics, because my children actually have an aptitude for things working with their hands. Also outreach and communication. So in the first one, one of the things that we are blessed with in Dublin is we have a very robust and well-funded school district. We, however, do not have a lot of support from the legislature. So the school voucher program can be quite devastating to a school district if those funds are removed. And that's one of the important things to think about, because if those funds are removed, they affect both special needs, but also gifted students. So students in those areas may be affected if there's not the correct funding for it. So working with the local community and the legislature to make sure that the funding model is appropriate and it doesn't fall also, to Tara's point, onto our parents and to people who may not have children in the school. We want to make sure that that is appropriately funded so that all of the academics are available, the sports are available, the music, all of the things that really make a well-rounded student are available to them, and it isn't something that they have to balance which one they're going to take, or it isn't even offered. And that's one of the areas that it's really important. Fiscal responsibility is important because it drives the academics that we have available to us. From a many career path, a varied career path, my 3rd son went to Jerome, but he also went to Tolles because he wanted to be a firefighter, and he really appreciated working with his hands. He probably could have been a better student, but because he was very gifted with firefighting and EMT, he preferred to do that pathway. And that was really critical for him to have the opportunity. And within the Dublin School District, we have wonderful partners in Tolles Technical and Delaware Career Center that offer different courses, cybersecurity, for example, pre-veterinary, welding, the trades. So there's many opportunities. And to Kristy's point, because Dublin is such a wonderful school district and has many opportunities available, we make sure that our kids know that there are options for them to take that are maybe academics. It could possibly be going in the military, as my number 2 son is actually Ohio National Guardsman, and the GI Bill has helped pay for his college. In that instance, he was able to talk to recruiters while he was at school. My oldest one went in the IB program, and he really appreciated that because it tied so many things together for him when he was learning in his junior and senior years. And that program has really been such a blessing to our children, and to have that be available to them is wonderful. Being an open and an advocate for the administrators, for the students, for everyone who takes care of our children, and we're not with them during the day. We want to make sure we support those individuals who are working closely with our kids, whether it's the guidance counselors, who I've spent quite a bit of time with, and they're all lovely, to the actual principals, to the teachers, to the aides, even the cafeteria. And I will say that my number 2 son really appreciated the gentleman who took care of the cleaning of the high school. He appreciated all the work he put into it. So there are so many people that touch our kids' lives, and we want to make sure we support them appropriately because of what they bring, that gift to them. So that communication
Thank you,
that
Elizabeth.
Tiffany mentioned.
Your time is up.
Oh my gosh, 3 minutes is fast.
I don't know. Is the music audible to you? Can you hear the music? Okay. I'm not sure. I hope you can still hear the music next time. But thank you. Appreciate it, sharing your top priorities, and thank you everyone for sharing your top priorities. It's very helpful for voters to understand where your focus would be if elected. Now let's turn to a topic that's been I bet everybody's mind. High school redistricting is one of the most discussed topics in our district right now. What principles guide your redistricting preferences? Among the 3 proposed maps from Dublin City Schools, do you support option 1, 2, or 3? Would you propose another approach? If yes, please explain. This time we'll start with Tara.
All right, redistricting. So I know that that is a hot button topic right now. And as I had mentioned in my bio there a little bit, was that we have experienced redistricting both with my brother way back when Jerome was built, and then also with my own kids once we had the growth over in Jerome Village, where they actually had friends at Eli Penny that then they got separated from once Step was built and then also Eversole. So they've also experienced some of that redistricting. And I know that my daughter and my son are very excited to meet their friends back at Jerome. So it's going to be hard, and it's something that happens when you have growth. And obviously people come to Dublin for the schools. So redistricting is going to be a part of what we do. I think based on how we were if people remember, the levy only passed by about 229 votes approximately. So we weren't in a good position to build a 4th high school. I don't believe that that was where we were at the time. So redistricting was what was needed. But the one thing I would say is that my background is in data. My background is in math and forecasting. Knowing that we had this coming up, I thought it was important to engage the community ahead of time. I don't think we did that, which is where you're seeing a lot of this community division because people don't feel heard. In addition to that, I believe the criteria that we used was not weighted. I believe I had gone to a board meeting and I heard that the criteria was all equal. Being a project manager in the past, I know, and right now I'm an IT strategist, I know that it's just not mathematically possible for it to be all equal. So it'd be nice to see how each map was weighted by criteria. I believe that's where we're headed from the last board meeting, is being able to see that, but that's a little bit after the fact. Really, the maps should have been a result of the criteria, which the board itself is not responsible for drawing maps. I want to be very clear. So when we say which one of the maps I'll choose, I will have to say, for me, I would say there's a pause because I don't feel that the process was done appropriately. So it makes it hard for me to pick a map because I don't feel that it was based on data behind the criteria and the weighting. So if I were to do it over, I would say if I were on the board, I would make sure that that piece was done ahead of time and that the community understood the process prior to drawing the maps.
Thank you, Tara. I know I did not say we'll have a follow-up questions, but I want to make it clear. So what kind of weights are you talking about?
Oh, sure. So when you think about the criteria, you would have certain priorities. So I know that the socioeconomic piece was one of the criteria. There's 8 criteria. So as you put weightages on which one is the highest priority, well, then when you start to draw those map and put those into the algorithm, which Cropper would do, then you would spit out a map and it would say which one of those priorities, which one of the criteria was taken into account the highest. Right.
Okay.
And so then you can look at it and say traffic, socioeconomics,
Okay.
diversity, to that extent.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess if we have time, we can dig more into
Sure.
the details.
Of course.
Thank you. Next, Tiffany.
Hi, yes. So this is definitely the hot topic of the moment. As Tara mentioned, the board does not draw maps. The main focus of the board is to make sure that the process is in alignment with board policy. So is it aligned with the policy that is set forth? And the way that I approach it as a school board member is to see how is this aligning with that process. And if I don't have enough information to make that determination, then I ask for it. Because the other part of being a board member is oversight. So if you see that there might be a misalignment between the policy and what is actually happening, your role is to step in and try to rectify that situation. And so some of the things that I am looking for are things like the traffic study. Traffic studies are necessary to this process. So making sure that we actually have them is one of the things that, that I have requested. Again, the criteria, looking at how does this actually, in measurable metrics, how does each map fit or not fit, meet or not meet each one of those criteria? And then looking at how each one of the maps impacts the students, because again, this is all about the students. And I think the overarching goal of the policy is to make sure that any redistricting is in the best interest of the students and also uses our funding and resources in the most responsible way. So that's how I'm approaching this, not necessarily looking at one map and choosing one map preference or not, but looking at each one of those maps with data, with input from the public, with input from the internal planning team, and ultimately the superintendent is the one who chooses the map. But I want to make sure that that process is as solid as it can be, because that really is the role of the school board and a school board member.
Thank you, Tiffany. So among the 3 maps already shared with the public, do you think you do not have enough data to make a call among the 3?
Yes, I mean that's part of the process. The internal planning team is still taking in feedback, still taking in all of the data, still trying to gather data on these maps. So I think it's premature to even choose a preferable map.
Got it. Thank you. So next, Elizabeth.
Yeah, redistricting, it is very emotional and it's hard. And I've talked to a number of parents in the last few days at these various meetings. I know the Bailey families are very upset because they feel like they have been redistricted a lot. They're concerned about their kids. And so completely understand friendships. Contrary to that, my neighborhood, we are 1 mile from Jerome, and our neighborhood, if we're redistricted to a particular map, may go to Kaufman. My neighbors are actually happy because their kids would be closer to the middle school. So just like anything, any change in life, it is hard, and some people are okay with it and some people are not. The district, took 8 pieces of criteria, they applied it, the internal committee is working through it. Cropper GIS does this is what they do for a living. But it's a hard process because unlike the data and the metrics, our kids aren't widgets or data points. Our children are important and they're human beings, and they struggle with these things when they happen. And so as adults, we struggle too, because we want to make sure that they are comfortable and confident where they're going to go. So I understand that this is very hard. I think it's a blessing and a curse. The redistricting is occurring because Dublin is a strong school district people want to move to. And in order to balance that, the schools have to make sure they're not overcrowded, but they're not underutilized. And that's one of the reasons why the redistricting happens. Doesn't make it easier, but it's a point to think about. It could be worse, right? If we were closing schools because we didn't have enough students, that would be change also. And change is hard. And what we're trying to do is transparently work through that with them. And as Tiffany's pointed out, as Tara's pointed out, and I'm sure as Kristy's going to point out, the board has a limited ability to do those things, and it does fall to a special group that is looking through those. And that's what's frustrating to parents. And I've guided people as I've canvassed and I've talked to people is please fill out the survey. Please make your voice heard. please make sure that, you have your input, but utilize the data so that it is data driven, because emotions are important, but data is what's going to probably ultimately create the maps that may be used to be chosen from. And then after that, how do we come together as a community to figure out how to support our kids and make sure they're feeling comfortable, and the parents, and then look long term. What's the next 5 to 10 year plan look like? Because the growth isn't going to stop. So we have to plan for this and be prepared and have more community outreach so that it's not a surprise. We don't want to surprise people.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So you also have not picked your preference yet, like among the three
Not
maps?
until
Okay.
No, again, Tiffany made it so eloquently correct, is that there is a lot of data that's still coming in, and this is,
Got it.
for people to review.
Thank you. Next, Kristy.
Thank you for bringing this question up. It is definitely something we've all been talking a lot about. I'll try to answer your questions first, and then I'll add some things that I'd love to share. First, the principles guiding redistricting, my personal preferences. I think the ones that have been identified, it's in alignment with the board policy. That's important. I would really love to see the least amount of people possible impacted. And I know this process is a design process, so there are iterations. What we have now is probably not where we'll end up. And I think it's very important to keep in mind that and trust the process. Our board and superintendent they have the best of intent, and they're doing the best they can with a really difficult situation. And I do trust that they're taking all this community feedback, using the principles they've identified, the criteria, and doing the best job possible for the greater good of the community, even though at times it doesn't feel like it because most people don't like change. There's a couple out there I've talked to that are okay and happy about what's happening in their neighborhood because maybe they wanted a different choice. But all in all, we know it's very difficult. Of the 3 maps right now, and I think there's really 2, it sounds like they're going with 1 or 3 from the last board meeting. Of those, I don't feel comfortable choosing a map. If you're asking me as a mom, which I prefer, my children are in high school already. It doesn't really impact me. My neighbors we've had a lot of conversations, so I could speak for them, but really, if I were a board member, I'd represent everyone, and I'd want to pick what the best map is for the most people in the community. I think the greater good is the most important thing to consider. I did make a post about a map suggestion that I did get a lot of feedback on, good and bad, because there wasn't a map representing the Northwest, and that's where the growth stems from. And that is something I did answer in a comment on the chat about why. It wasn't to be divisive. I did share the opinion because I had a microphone. Because I'm running for board, a lot of people are paying attention to the things I say, and I'd heard a lot of people that were suspicious of why that area was not included, and they felt it was getting special treatment, and there was a lot of bad feelings. I did not say the Northwest should be included to target them and make them feel bad. That would never be my intent. It was to include them in the process. So for those of you that live in the Northwest, I apologize if I caused stress for your families. That was never my intent. But you did ask if I would propose something different. So I'm sharing that perspective. And, moving forward, we're going to have to recover from this. And it's an opportunity now that people are really engaged for us to grab onto this moment and to move forward and have those conversations so that we can hopefully come out stronger ultimately.
Perfect timing. Yeah, thank you all for sharing your thoughts regarding this complex and emotional issue. Next, we'll shift to a broader policy debate that has a real implication for public education funding. And Elizabeth has already touched this topic. The state voucher program has sparked the debate across Ohio. Do you support or oppose the state voucher program, and why? We'll start with Tiffany.
Yes, thank you. Personally, I am not a fan of universal vouchers. I think universal vouchers are not popular. I've done a lot of research on this because we have gotten this question a lot as board members over the last year, I would say, but prior to that as well. I did research on this and looking back to, I think it's 1975, 1976, when this issue is on the ballot as a ballot issue, it has been defeated 100% of the time. So I think that it's pretty clear that if people know that monies are being funneled to not just private schools, but especially people who aren't necessarily in the most need of needing, a private school voucher are getting those funds. It's not really the most popular thing. I think most people will agree that that's not something that public funds should be going to. So I think more education around that. I think maybe some people might not realize that that's happening. So definitely more education on that is needed. And that is where the community really could come in and take this and make real change by putting it on as a ballot issue. One of the things that I've learned from redistricting is that people are extremely passionate about the schools that they love. And we also have a whole community of people who know how to organize, because I have seen in the last few weeks how our community has organized to keep their kids in their buildings. So if we could harness that energy, those skills, the data, the organization that I have seen, and put it towards this, it would be amazing. One thing I will say though, I can say this now, as when I'm not sitting at my board seat during a board meeting, I can share my personal views on different legislation in this way, but that's not something that you can do during a board meeting. You have to be neutral. You can educate, but you cannot advocate. So I just want to say that. But
Got it.
yes.
Thank you. Next, Elizabeth.
Yeah, remember, not all vouchers are created equal. So the Ed Choice voucher is the one that's draining the public money into the private schools. So there are vouchers that are made specifically for children with special needs. There's one specifically for autism. So be aware, vouchers kind of is a global, but there are a number of vouchers the state offers. The school choice is very misleading, as Tiffany has talked about. And I talked to a number of people when we were gathering signatures who said, "Oh, you're not taking our money." And I said, "Well, could you qualify what that means, our money?" Well, we were told we need to apply for this because otherwise our children won't get the scholarship money we need. So we know the private schools are utilizing this in such a way that it's forcing parents to take the money. But when the legislature dropped the amount of money that you could request based on your actual income and your household income, people who are going to send their children to private school are going to send their children to private school, and they're taking advantage of that. In the case of Dublin, we have over 16,000 students that are in here, and 700 plus use private school vouchers. They can get up to $8,000 per student. That is tax money that is coming right out of our school district. Now, while we're well funded now, that doesn't mean that we can absorb that kind of hit long term. And so that is concerning. Private schools also don't have to take every child. Your public schools are such a gift because they take all students, and those students have the availability to work with each other and receive excellent treatment that they need based on gifted or special needs. And so there's no accountability. Certain schools don't even meet the same criteria of testing that our public schools do. So if you ask me, I'm not on the board. And my opinion is definitely vouchers hurt public schools, and they hurt them for a myriad of reasons. And I think to Tiffany's point, people are really smart when they understand what the topic is. And in those cases, you explain it in a way in which they can look at it against their situation and understand what is happening. And so where I stand. I am against ed choice vouchers, but not all vouchers, depending on what type they are.
Got it. Thanks for the clarity. Next, Kristy.
So I am not for the current way the vouchers are, the current voucher system. However, I'm not against school choice. Opening Emerald Campus, that's a choice for students to attend and receive the programming they want. The state budget has allocated billions of dollars, like $2 billion over the next 2 years for vouchers. And there's a huge increase for Ed Choice scholarships specifically. And I am concerned that the requirements for schools that receive those vouchers, my concern lies there. And also that they're not just need-based. So I'm fine with vouchers, similar to Elizabeth. She said in some circumstances, she said she was okay with that. I'm slightly different in that I would be more supportive of a voucher program that held schools accountable that received those funds, because the accountability is not the same at private schools and charter schools as public schools. And in my opinion, if families can't afford a choice, they really don't have a choice where they send their students. And there are lots of different circumstances where people would want to choose an alternative, even people living in Dublin, whether they have religion is a priority in their lives, or if their student needs a different environment for whatever reason. I would want families to be able to get what they need for their kid, because I think parents do have rights to raise their children how they want. I am concerned if it's taking away from money that goes to public schools. And I do hope we have a question coming up about upcoming budget changes, because there could be some really big changes happening to how schools are funded. And there are some big problems with the current system in general, which is an even bigger problem than vouchers. Vouchers is a part of it. I am not sure if the program went away, if that money would just go to public schools or if they would allot it differently. I don't know enough about that. I would need to learn more. But the fact that the vouchers are not need-based for finances, that like families that financially were already able to send their kids continued to send their kids. I don't think in Dublin it encouraged a lot of people to leave. It was more so they were already taking advantage of those, or they were already sending their kids and they took advantage of the vouchers additionally. So all in all, I'm not a fan of how they currently are being allotted, and the funding behind them and the lack of accountability is concerning.
Thank you. And thank you all again for sharing your thoughtful perspectives on those key issues. Hong, I think we have some time for Q&A, right?
Oh, wait, Tara.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm like, I'd like to weigh in on this, if I may.
Yes, I'm sorry, Tara.
No worries. So vouchers is actually something that actually got me noticing that the funding was being shifted. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And so that was what I started to start on thinking about how the funding was shifting for our public schools. And so the lawsuit that's going on right now, really, you can see that a lot of the schools that have joined that lawsuit are across rural, urban, those are all types of schools, because really vouchers ultimately hurt Ohio. It doesn't just hurt one district, it hurts the entire state. And Elizabeth, I think, called it out specifically. Not all vouchers are bad, but specifically the ed choice has changed. And so over the last 2 years, approximately, you're allowed to get a voucher. It doesn't matter if you're coming from a failing school district. It doesn't matter your income. You are eligible no matter what for a voucher. And so I looked at the data on this, and just specifically for Dublin, we have, if you take St. Bridget, we have about 74% of people at St. Bridget taking vouchers now. And that wasn't always the case. And a lot of these kids have never been in our public schools. And so there's a lack of education here. Just a little bit of background very quickly. So as I had mentioned, my brother had gone to public schools kind of growing up. I actually went to Scioto, but then graduated from Watterson. So I have had both experiences, and I really like our private schools, but I sent all my kids to public schools. But I think that you can go to private schools, but not at the expense of public school kids. And I think that's really where we need to be. And we do take an oath as school board members to uphold the Constitution, the state Constitution. And that doesn't mean just for Dublin, it means for the entire state. So that is one thing that I think is missing. And what I would like to see with the board is really educating. Tiffany, is what you had mentioned as far as educating and maybe not advocating, but educating the community on exactly what vouchers are doing, not just to our district, but to the state as a whole, because ultimately that is a conversation that needs to be had. And even if we are seeing an increased enrollment in Dublin, if other districts around us are being hurt, ultimately we're being hurt as well.
Thank you, Tara. And now we have about 10 minutes for questions.
All right.
So,
Cool. So I am looking at the Q&A. I think there are a number of questions on the districting. I will pick some of the segments from the meeting, such as one question is asking if I'm living right next to a school. Now that with the redistricting plan, I need to be bused for several miles to go to other schools. So do you believe it's fair or reasonable in this situation? And then, and what do you think, what will you do to make sure that any redistricting benefit most of the families? I think another part of this redistricting discussion is that you do mention that as a school board member, you do not have the final say, but then you did mention there are certain things that the families can do to voice their opinion. Could you also make that clear as well? What is the most effective way to do that? Because currently, I know at least there are two change.org petition going on. One said that against option 3, another one is for option 3. So also we like to let people know what would be the most effective way to get our voice heard.
yeah, for Q&A session, it's open forum. So please jump in if you would like to answer the question.
I can answer that one.
Go
So
ahead.
the most effective way to get your input out there is to send it to the survey, the feedback survey, because that's what Cropper is working off of. That is what they are using. They're telling that information for the board. So the more accurate information that gets into that betters the process. Obviously, it's great for you to send that information to the board so that we have it as well. But just sending it to the board does not mean it's getting to the internal planning team or the superintendent, and they are the ones who are actually in Cropper. They're actually the ones working together to build these maps, looking for things that they might have overlooked, like a building being across the street from you or a tiny section being split away from the rest of the community. Those are the kinds of things that they're looking at to see if they can make better. So definitely send that to the feedback form. And there is another opportunity for public input on it's next Wednesday. I think that's the 22nd. So there will be 3 opportunities for people to share. I believe one is at the BMI Credit Union in the morning. The second one, I believe, is at Scioto High School in the late afternoon. And then there's one in the evening at Grizel. So please do attend those, give your feedback, because they will again be collecting that information and summarizing it. And then, of course, at the board meeting on the 29th, there will be public participation during that. And obviously, I am open to feedback to me. In one-on-one conversations, I think hearing everyone's stories and their input is valuable as a board member because that lets us know what the community values. So I think use all the different methods. The I would say that as far as petitions go, that's not typically something that we are looking at. I can't speak for other board members. I will say that just for myself, I am trying to read hundreds of emails and I want to get through them. I want to at least read them. Um, so I'm not so much going and looking at extra things right now because I am getting them from morning till night, just emails. And I feel like if someone's taken the time to write a personal email, I want to be able to read those. So, and
Thank
also,
you.
yes, and I think again, just getting that petition information into the feedback form is really important.
Sounds good. Thank you. Who else would like to chime in for this question?
Tiffany did a great job. She's the expert right now. I'm going to stick with her answer.
Sounds good. So we have about 10 minutes. Hong, are you going to summarize the rest of the question so we can, we'll share with all the candidates afterward. Now, before we close, I would like to give each candidate an opportunity to share any final thoughts or message with the community. I guess this is a free form. Who would like to go first?
I will go.
Okay.
So
Yes.
I would just like to say that again, one of the things that I'm looking forward to, if I am lucky enough to have a second term, is to continue to try to build that community. I think that's going to be paramount as we move forward with the challenges that we have, but also the opportunities that we have. Like I said before, we cannot do all the great things that we want to do without community. And secondly, I just want to let you know that my focus is always on the students. I believe that having a whole student approach where we really care about supporting our students in all the different ways that our district can support students, that is what I want to do. And lastly, I think we need to think and act strategically. It's not perfect, definitely not now, but that is the way that we need to be moving forward to address some of the challenges that we have, like growth, like funding. We cannot afford not to be good planners. So that is what I'm striving to improve for this district. And if I should be so lucky to have your vote on November 4th, I would be grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Go ahead, Tara.
To Tiffany's point, a big part of my platform is community engagement. And even when I think about funding, I don't know if I mentioned, like I was a math major, so math is my wheelhouse. I really just love data and working with numbers. I think you have a lot of things coming up down the pike as far as how our kids are learning. So right now I'm doing a lot with Gen AI, and I think it's going to be important to be able to have people that are understanding how the world is changing and how that is affecting our kids with social media, with all of these things that are now coming down the pike. But as we're seeing some of these funding things, we have to be creative about how we are using our dollars. And what I think we also didn't talk about supporting our teachers. And that is something that I want to really stress because our teachers have a lot on their plate. So how can we be more efficient for them and also leverage some of their expertise in some of our strategies? Because we've had very good teachers. My kids have had very good teachers over the years, and they have really great ideas. And so I want to make sure that we are leveraging our teachers and understanding really how we need to move forward And ultimately, I really just want to represent, this is the only place I've known as home. So it is very important to me to see the district succeed. And I think we are better together. I do think that if we all kind of come together and start being neighborly again, that's really what I want to bring back is the feeling of that Discovery Park when we all came together for the schools. That is something I want to start seeing again. So if you would go out to my website at tarafordublinsschools.com. Right now, we really are focused on just getting in front of people and getting the word out. So I do have homework for everyone is talk to 5 people. If anybody, even I'll advocate for everybody on here, please just talk to your neighbors. A lot of people don't know there might be election. Please just let them know. And I know I still need a little bit of funding. So if you are feeling so inclined, please, make sure we're sending out some mailers and getting in front of people. But, I really appreciate and be honored to serve the district.
Thank you, Tara. And Kristy and Elizabeth, would you like to have some final thoughts?
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you. First, my final thoughts are actually a call to action looking ahead. I know redistricting feels not so great right now, and we're trying to get through this, and it's hard to see beyond that. We're going to get through it one way or another, and it's going to impact some of our families. But it's really important that our community continue to engage moving forward and stay tuned, because what could be happening with property taxes and how schools are funded in the state is going to be essential to keeping our schools at the level we want them to be at. Right now, we do have very high property taxes. And I think someone asked a question about that in the chat, and I didn't get to it yet, but we all feel that too. We know our schools, we have 85% of our funds are local, and then the small little 15% is from the state. It's important to know in Ohio is 45th in the nation in state funding for our public schools. So we are very low as a state, and that's something to be aware of. And it hasn't kept up with inflation as costs have gone up over the years. And so our community really is funding our schools. The last levy, we had 316 votes that it passed it by. It was so close. And right now, a lot of people are feeling upset about redistricting, and whether we have a levy in a few short years or there's some other funding mechanism that we have to get approved, we all need to work together to protect our schools. Because if we can't fund them, it's going to be 17,000 students who don't get the experience they want and are really upset. And our families are not going to stand for that. So we have to come together and start rebuilding after redistricting and keep that momentum going of engagement. I would just encourage everyone to really stay tuned with this discussion. I know school funding is complicated. It is unconstitutional in Ohio how our schools are funded, but it's still happening. So if you want to learn more about my campaign, my student-led nonpartisan campaign, you can go to voteforvenny.com to learn more. And I'm so thankful for the time that I got to share today. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, Kristy. And Elizabeth, would you like to share something?
Yeah, well, one of my superpowers is networking. It is one of the ways in which I get to meet people. And when I meet people, I find out that they know somebody and they know somebody. So one of the things that I bring to the table, if elected, is that I'm really good at connecting people together. And I'm really good at assembling a village, because as a project manager, I am not the smartest person on the project. I am not the best person on the project, but I'm the person that helps lead people through and pull their best skills together. And so that's my gift in this one. And I completely concur with Kristy. The property tax issue is going to be problematic, and we as Ohioans have to pay attention to this, because there is not an alternate that the legislature is proposing. They're just simply saying, we'll do away with property taxes. Okay, but how do you fund everything? It's not even our schools. It's public services, it's fire, it's police, it's parks. I mean, these are the things as an informed citizen that we want our kids to do. And so again, if our schools are strong and our kids are learning, this gives them that opportunity to actually live and be part of their civic engagement. And we also, as the adults, need to fulfill that. So they'll go along with it. My website is elizabethmcclain.com. You can go check me out and see what I stand for. And if you want to send me a note, you can. But I am very grateful to have this opportunity to talk to the AACO and get to be with an amazing group of women. We have been through a lot this week, and I just feel like every time we're together, we get stronger. So it is such a blessing to be with everyone here, and I thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you to each of our candidates for your thoughtful responses. I know you are all very busy, have a packed agenda, so I truly appreciate you spending time here to meet with us. As the early voting is already underway, I wish all of you your campaign going on very well. And also thank you to every attendees for your time and questions and your dedication to inform the civic participation. We hope tonight's forum helped you feel better informed to make thoughtful choices at the ballot box. Here are a few key dates I would like to remind you. The deadline to request an absentee ballot will be October 28th. And the deadline to return absentee ballot will be the election day, November 4th. The in-person early voting, I mentioned, is already going on. Please check your County Board of Election website for the full details. And of course, the election day will be the Tuesday, November 4th. So make sure you plan to vote. Your voice matters and your vote counts. Once again, thank you to all our candidates, our community partners, and all of you who joined us tonight. Have a great evening and a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.